Nice to think you're out there. And hoping that you're sticking around longer than what the Facebook industry norms are, which is not that long at all. We got some great topics for you today. Let's see, we got Wednesday, so it's the middle of the week, which is nice. We're on the downside of the slope. Here's my question: do you guys actually look forward to the weekends? Like, are you just like, oh my? Is it kind of like I can't wait until I have a couple of days when I don't have to deal with this stuff? Or are you somebody who enjoys your work so much that you're actually kind of cool where you're at with the whole process and you like your work? Are you looking forward to your Thursdays? Is there anything that Thursday offers that Friday doesn't? On Fridays, here's a question for real estate agents and lenders. Both of you guys, do you have one foot out the door at noon? Our industry is notorious for like anybody who does like any type of webinars on with any regularity. They don't do anything on Fridays. They don't do them on Fridays because they know that you got one foot out the door. So anyways, do me a favor. I am, as you can tell, I'm streaming this right now through Streamlabs. So I've got some great visuals for you, some things to talk about, some personal anecdotal stories, and some things that might help you with your business. So do me a favor, just chime in, let me know where you are, what's going on. If you like what you see, it really is helpful, guys, if you share this type of stuff. As we put this together on a daily basis, it requires a certain level of work, and you can show your appreciation for what we're doing by sharing this and keeping these type of conversations going with your sphere of influence in real estate lending, title, escrow, appraisals, and all that type of stuff. Now, here's one thing, and we will get into this later on this week. We're not going to do it today, but what we are going to start providing real estate agents is the opportunity to compete head-to-head with the iBuying platforms. And this is a great thing because it does not interfere with anything that you're doing. We're not going to be a lender. Your lender stay intact, who you're working with right now. We're not interfering with a darn thing. You keep your broker's license right where it is. You do everything that's working for you right now. But we are going to give you the opportunity to make cash offers, to allow your clients to make cash offers on properties. The difference between what we're going to afford you guys and the iBuying platforms is your commissions stay 100% intact. 100%. You still have your listings. I'll explain this to you. I know it sounds complicated now, but you'll still have your listings. You will get your full commissions on everything. All the money and the proceeds from the sales of properties are going to stay in your community where that money gets recycled. And that's the lifeblood of wherever you live, especially small town USA. And we are going to, with agents who want to work with us, we're going to give you the competitive advantage to where you can have cash offers in a manner that works for you, works for your community, works for your business, works for your company, works for your relationships that you currently have intact. And we are looking at rolling this out here in the next probably 3 or 4 days. And there's going to be a process for it because we want agents who are going to kick ass with this. I'm telling you, there's no strings attached. This is not a money grab. This is literally going to provide you with a service that you've never seen before. So stick around for that. If you do have any inquiries about that you guys would like to, if you want to ask us, we're certainly not going to be answering them today, maybe by Monday, but you can leave an instant message over here on the InRep page that you're probably watching this on Facebook. Just leave us a message there and we'll reach out to you and we'll certainly let you know what's going on. And that's pretty cool stuff. Also want to let you know, again, because I've got great sponsors out there, that Oak Tree, they have a 90% cash out refinance right now with a score as low as, FICO score as low as 600. Max loan amount of $4 million, a DTI of 55, full doc 55 is a big number right now, considering we're looking at the ability to repay. Loan to value goes up to 90%. Minimum reserves, all doc, you only need 3 months bank statements. Cash out up to $1 million. That's a huge deal. And you can have 0 60-day mortgage rates within the past 24 months. And by the way, the pricing on these are going to beat everybody in the non-QM space. So if you have a chance, go reach out to my good friends over at Oak Tree. They are super, super killer. They do a great job over there. Again, by the way, reach out. I can't tell because I'm streaming this through Streamlabs, but if you guys chat or chime in, I can see who's there, and I'm just kind of curious to see how many of these comments are actually going to filter through to my Streamlabs, because I've got this on multiple Facebook pages. I have this on YouTube right now. And so any comments that you put in, let me know. I'd be curious to see how that whole thing looks and how it feels right now. Okay, let's jump into today's show. This is kind of a cool thing. Did you know that this day in history, in 1876, Alexander Graham Bell, okay, He transmitted the first speech by phone ever. And he did this in 1876 by saying, on March 10th, by saying, Watson, get your ass up here right now before I No, he didn't. He said, Watson, could you come up here? I need you, please. And of course, Watson famously heard that, one floor down, and went upstairs, and voila! The greatest marketing invention real estate and mortgage lending has ever known. In the pantheon of great marketing tools, the Hall of Fame of great marketing tools for every marketer, especially real estate agent and lenders the world has ever known, around longer than anything, more effective than anything ever, the telephone. Yes, that started out tomorrow, March 10th, 1876. So, in the spirit of Alexander Graham Bell and Mr. Watson, here's what I suggest. Tomorrow, a good idea. This is a good idea here. In the spirit of the date and history, you need to call 10 people who are going to get you closer to your professional goals. I'm not texting them, not instant messaging, 10 actual phone calls with people who are going to get you closer to your professional goals. Again, just in the spirit of the date and history. And if you do think about it, I mean, honestly, the phone is you gotta give it to it, don't you? You gotta give it to it. The greatest tool we've ever had. All right. Okay. Let's get going here. So, okay, we're gonna get to that one. I got a really crazy story that I'm gonna share with you guys. It'll trip you out. Okay. So, I was thinking about this. We're seizing all of these, these mega yachts, right? Western nations are facing the challenge of seizing property from all these massive Russian oligarchs. And so what they're doing is that when they found out all these, that we were seizing properties, they were trying to drive these massive multi-$100 million, billion-dollar yachts into ports of harbor that were favorable to Russia. They were jamming over to Turkey. They were I forget what a couple of the other neutral ports are, but all these oligarchs are trying to get their boats into these neutral ports before we could go ahead and just take them from them. What's interesting about the whole thing is what's going to happen after this whole thing ends, assuming it doesn't end in a global thermonuclear war. I would assume that you're going to go ahead and get your boats back. But nevertheless, I was kind of thinking about this. I'm like, okay, so if we are seizing these mega yachts and we're seizing, freezing the bank accounts and everybody's pulling out of Russia right now, well, then it seems to me that maybe there's going to be an issue with real estate. Like, what about real estate in the United States? Is there going to be an issue that affects Russians, people with Russian citizenship who either live inside or outside of the United States who have bought property over here, investment property or even primary residence? Does it affect them at all? The other thing to think about is if a Russian lives over in the United States, are they sympathetic to the cause of the Ukrainians? And then in that case, is it even reasonable or moral to go ahead and take that person's stuff? How do you know if they're sympathetic to our position or our plight? The other question is do they necessarily need to be sympathetic to our position or our plight in order for us to seize assets of private citizens? Now, listen, trust me, I am all, get the Russians out of Ukraine, I'm all about it. But do we really have a right to seize the property of private citizens? We're not talking about government officials. We're not talking about governments. We're talking about individuals who simply have bank accounts that have more zeros on it than you do. Now, just hypothetical here, and we're gonna walk through this, and it's actually fairly fascinating. So stick with me. But think about this for a minute. There is a Russian restaurant owner in this country. Okay? In every city in the country. In fact, I know out in San Francisco, they've got areas where there's high densities of Eastern Bloc Europeans, and they're primarily Russians. They own restaurants. They own coffee shops. They own bakeries. They're just like me and you, living paycheck to paycheck. Okay? They're not over there patting fucking Putin on the back, nothing like that. They're over here trying to carve out a living for themselves. Do we have a right to seize their property? Do we have a right to seize that bakery? To seize that restaurant? To seize that coffee shop? To seize that nail salon? To seize any of these things? Do we have that right to do it? And I think everybody would agree, no. We don't. Like that. No, this isn't somebody who is sympathetic to a cause, and harming that person is not going to get us any closer to what I guess our objective is, which is to push Russia out of the Ukraine. Oligarchs are the same thing, aren't they? They're not part of the Russian government. They're not part of the Politburo. They're not part of a cabinet. They're private citizens who have more zeros behind their bank accounts. Do we then have a right? And by the way, a lot of these oligarchs are not terribly sympathetic to what Putin's doing. I mean, who was that guy who owned one of those Premier League soccer clubs over there in England, and he sold his soccer club to give the proceeds to the war effort to fight against the Russians? So anyways, it does kind of create something of a conundrum now, doesn't it? But this is something that we have to think about, because right now U.S. officials and New York lawmakers are calling on Russian oligarch real estate to be seized right here in the United States right now. This is what's taking place. Now, has it taken place? Not necessarily as of yet, but it doesn't mean that we're not having ripple effects from this, okay? Meaning that it's kind of like when the Fed moves rates. By the time the Fed actually gets around to moving rates, the market has already priced in what the Fed is going to do, because we already knew what the Fed was going to do. So the day that the Feds move rates really do nothing. It's already been priced in, okay? Okay, now I'm gonna continue the story, but I want to tell you something that is kind of trippy. So when I was writing the show, I was kind of joking about this. I'm like, I've seen that movie, A History of Violence with Viggo Mortensen, about the Russian mafia. I'm like, that Russian mafia, they're on a different level. Like, they are like on a different level, crazy and mean. I mean, the Costa Nostra, the Sinaloa cartel, yeah. I don't know if anyone's as crazy as the Russians. The Russian mafia, at least from what I've seen on movies, and trust me, my entire almost my entire knowledge of the Russian mafia is from television. But they sure do look nuts, don't they? Okay, but this is kind of interesting. Check this out. True story, too. So I was telling my team about this today. I bought a house up by Yosemite National Park. And it was in a little town called Groveland. And I bought it in this area called Pine Mountain Lake. Me and a friend did. It's a beautiful little French chalet. It's a roof, a real steep roof with a deck on the second story. Absolutely beautiful, stunning little place. Cute property, little private lake, and a gated community. Campy is all damn hell. I mean, campy. You are out in BFD, right, or BFE in here. And so we kind of raised our family going out to Yosemite and going up to Pine Mountain Lake, which was a 2.5, 3 hour drive. Turns out that Pine Mountain Lake is full of Russians. I don't know why. It's full of Russians, though. So, anyways, and we knew how we found this out is because they have a beach on the private lake. And so when we took our kids and our wives down to the beach on the private lake, you've got 50-year-old guys who are 100 pounds overweight wearing these tiny little Speedos. It's like, whoa, okay. Something's going on here. Yeah, it's kind of a European Russian swimwear, a little different than what we're used to over here. And so we kind of figured out what was going on. But I told them, when you go up there, this is going to be a little macabre right now. So just stick with me. I'm not going to get really bad, but just here's my only experience or knowledge of the Russian mob. When you go up to Pine Mountain Lake in the little city of Groveland on the way to Yosemite, you pass a lake. It's called Don Pedro Lake. And Don Pedro Lake, when you spend your time at the Iron Door Saloon, which is the only saloon up in Yosemite Valley, and it's the oldest saloon in the state of California. True story there too. You start to hear stories, and it turns out that Don Pedro Lake, with all the Russians up there, they said, yeah, here's the thing. The Russian mafia would kidnap Russians, they would hold them for ransom, get their ransom, then still kill the people, and dump them in Don Pedro Lake. True story. So I looked it up today. I'm like, yeah, I remember these crazy stories. Then here it is right here. Don Pedro Lake, which is right up there next to a place where I basically raised my kids during their influential young years, but hunt for mob victims at a California reservoir, because that's what they were doing. So if you're ever up at Don Pedro Lake, just understand you're water skiing on top of the bodies of... I can't even do this. It's true, though. I don't know. It's true. So here's my only thing. Can we export the Russian mafia? That's what I think we should do. Okay, but let's get serious about this for a minute and start looking at what's taking place with real estate right now. So what we're hearing right now is the wealthy Russians in this country, and who knows where that line is drawn here. Russians, they're looking to sell off their U.S. real estate everywhere, from Fisher Island to, yes, Billionaires Row. Billionaires Row, in case you don't know, I think that's where Jeffrey Epstein lives, but it's in Manhattan. You get the idea. So, or lived before he suicided himself. So they're selling, right now there's this massive urge to go ahead and sell off all their real estate. Now there's a real estate agent, her name is Dolly Lenz, and she said one of the most sought after luxury real estate brokers, she's one of the most sought after luxury real estate brokers in the United States. She told Fortune magazine that she's getting inundated from inquiries from Russian clients who are considering selling their United States real estate holdings. Those luxury units with a lot worth over $10 million are in some of Miami's and New York's most exclusive neighborhoods, including Billionaires Row, as I told you a moment ago, in Manhattan. So is this having an effect on real estate in the United States? Well, certainly on the top end, it's doing that. But there's also other things that are taking place right now. And again, remember when I talked about how the market understands how to price and what the Fed is doing before the Fed makes a change? I think, you're looking at a lot of the wealthy Russians who have real estate holdings in the United States, and they're looking at the writing on the wall. They said the heat is up. They're scared, and they're going to have their real estate seized or potentially seized, or linked to somebody who is seized. They're scared to death of guilt by association, Liz said. While she has yet to see a flood of Russian-owned luxury real estate hit the market, she says this whole thing is on right now. But isn't it interesting that they're saying they're concerned about having their property seized or being linked to somebody whose property is seized, or guilt by association? Do you know what this strangely sounds like? It sounds like the 1950s McCarthyism, the Red Scare, where everybody was accused of being a Russian or a Soviet communist in the 1950s, and it torpedoed people's professional careers when they were associated with possibly being a Soviet communist in the United States. But this is the same type of hysteria that we're seeing right now. And truth be told, while we're on the topic of history here, and we hear Putin talking about lobbing, nuclear missiles around, which is not a very good thing to do. He sets a new precedent. But it really kind of brings us to a point of where the Cuban Missile Crisis was in the 1960s. And that should, I don't know, I personally think it should scare everybody. So here's the one that's kind of a trip that kind of got me here. It says, we know of several deals where Russian buyers, by the way, had put down money on new developments with significant deposits and are deciding to not go through with the deals. That's pretty bad. They told us that they will walk away from deposits if the climate stays this way. Lynn said in some cases, she says that they'd lose deposits of upwards of $15 million if they go through with exiting the real estate development deals that they have. So to put this in context, boy, what a great problem to have. One, you're going to lose a $15 million deposit. Two, wouldn't it be nice to be able to lose a $15 million deposit and really not have any skin off of your back? And there are people who are running in completely different circles than me, and their names are all Dimitri. But now we have to start to ask, so I started to ask myself, okay, do we have precedent or legal authority to actually seize property of private citizens? Remember when we started this live, I came on by saying, what's the difference between that Russian coffee shop, bakery, dumpling shop owner who's struggling to get by just like me and you? Do we seize their coffee shop or their nail salon? No, it's ridiculous. It makes no sense. But that's a private citizen, and we have to really kind of compare apples to apples. And if it's private citizen to private citizen, do we then as a nation have a right to go ahead and seize the property of private citizens because we choose to for whatever reason it could be? Now, and here's the deal. You might not agree with this, but there are people in this country who are not Russian who are pro-Putin. I shit you not. I've heard them, like face to face. So, there's a lot of people who think, hey, Putin's actually, he's cleaning things up over there in a lot of these Eastern Bloc countries. I don't want to get into if you agree with it or not, but just understand it's an opinion. Like, it's an opinion. If you are pro-Ukraine, if you're pro-Russia, it's still an opinion. I mean, one could be more well thought out. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. I'm not here to make that decision. But what I am telling you is whatever your point you have, there is a counterpoint and a counter opinion. And that person in this country has a right to their counterpoint or their counter opinion. They absolutely do. And we don't have a right to be punitive to somebody who doesn't agree with your position, or rather the position of the federal or state governments that we have right now. Isn't it interesting? It took all this shit to make everything bipartisan. Everybody's in agreement now. Couldn't even agree on a global pandemic. But we can all agree that we hate Putin. Okay. So the question then becomes, if somebody disagrees with us, do we have the right to seize property? Do we have legal authority or precedent to go ahead and do this? If in fact we chose to say, screw it, we're going to go after the coffee shop owner, the nail salon owner, and the guy who bought the $300 million house. Well, turns out there is. For starters, it's legal under the Civil Asset Forfeiture Reform Act, which has its roots in the 18th century when America would seize cargo from foreign ships that didn't pay a customs or import tax. It also grew in the use of drug law enforcement in the 1980s, and it's a common tool against terrorists, fugitives, and Putin. Or people who we think might be sympathetic to Putin, or maybe people who aren't even sympathetic to Putin. Okay. I don't know if let me see. I might have to pull this up a little bit. I'm not sure. Let me see if I do. There we go. That might be better. Okay. Let me lock this sucker again. Okay. Civil forfeiture laws have become popular ways for states and local governments to raise revenue. That should scare the shit out of everybody, right? You should not be taking punitive actions as a means to raise capital for other endeavors on a state, federal, municipal, or parish, city, county level. That's ridiculous. It's a way for them to raise money. Raise revenue. Although critics say it's a practice abused by law enforcement to profit off of criminal activity. And it's the what was that? It's the what was the Stamp Act? Remember when people were selling bad assets? It was a law from the 1860s, and it was a law from the 1860s, and it was and so it was a law that was enacted. So when private groups would sell the Union Army bad mules, bad food, bad horses, stuff like that, that it gave the federal government a way to go back and nail those merchants for 10 times the fee for what they screwed people out of. We were using these type of laws against mortgage lenders in the 2010s and 15s. And actually, I'll show this to you guys. I got this picture, and this is one of the pictures that I have hanging in my office. And that is from that Lame Mule Act from the 1860s that we dusted off as an industry to go ahead and punitively go after mortgage lenders in the United States. That's what this picture is from. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? So we do have a precedent of going and using old laws, dusting them off and using them for whatever it is that we choose to use right now. So civil forfeiture laws have become popular, and remember this is from the 1860s, as a way of making money. So do we have a legal precedence to go after some of these mortgage lenders, or go after some of these Russian citizens, their businesses, and most importantly, their real estate? And the answer is it appears that we do have that right. I think that is a real slippery slope. I really honestly do. But we do have that right to do it. And as we can see, the ripple effect is, as it's starting to affect Russians and Russian Americans in our country right now, and how they're behaving and what they're doing, because they're afraid that these things are going to happen. And it kind of stinks. Now, here's something else that I want to share with you guys that I thought was interesting. Now, hang tight, I got this over on this computer, so I'm not going to show this to you, but you'll get the idea. All right. Okay. Did I not take that picture? Oh, wait, I have it over here. Just bear with me a second, guys. I thought I snapped a shot of this if I didn't. Okay. So, the question is, what states are going to be most inclined to take actions against Russian-held real estate? And that would certainly be by the states which there are more Russian immigrants or Russian-held property than any other states. So the state right now that has the most Russian-held real estate is, what do you guys think? I'll give you a second. What state do you think has the most Russian-held real estate? Kind of makes sense. The first one does. The first one is Florida. So right now, Florida represents 29% of all Russian-held real estate in the United States. That kind of makes sense when you think about this, doesn't it? I mean, if you've ever spent a winter in St. Petersburg, or, the gulags in Siberia or Moscow, or, I said earlier, Leningrad or Stalingrad or whatever the hell these are. That St. Peter's is Stalingrad, but just having a little fun here, guys. You ever spend a winter there? I kind of think those sunny beaches over in Florida might be pretty attractive, pretty appealing if you spend a few winters over there. So, and it's also kind of one of the shorter distances too. It's tropical, it's great. So of course, fantastic tax laws down there in Florida. But then again, a fairly conservative state, a state that would, it seems to me, would be more in line with taking punitive actions against Russian-held real estate than other states. But it's 29%. Okay, so the second state, this one's that kind of tripped me out, Georgia. 16% of Russian-held real estate in the United States is held in Georgia. I don't get that one at all. I don't even know what to tell you. I know it's next to Florida. That was pointed out to me by somebody infinitely smarter than me in my office, Joanna. But I still don't get it. I don't get it. The third one is New York. Yeah, that's the one that makes sense to me. That's, I think, where that movie, A History of Violence, was filmed. New York obviously makes sense for a whole bunch of reasons. California came in at number 4. Think of Don Pedro Lake up here in Northern California outside of Yosemite. Number 5 is Illinois at 5%. And that's obviously because of Chicago. And then there's about 10 states that came in at 3%. So we've got a whole bunch of areas right now with Russian-held real estate that is kind of up in limbo. So my question is what do you guys think about it? Do you think we should be taking actions? Do you think it's a slippery slope? Do you think it is it could be the first domino that pushes down other ones? Are we going down a road that we don't want to? Do we want to make enemies of people who are sympathetic to our cause and maybe favorable to our country? I'd be curious to see what you guys think about that. Yeah, and so the ones that came in at 3% are Washington, Utah, South Carolina, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, New Jersey, Nevada, Missouri, Michigan, Maryland, and Kansas. So anyways, I thought that was a pretty interesting way to go about it. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. I think we came in about a half hour. If anyone wants to contact me, you can contact me on my cell phone. Send me a text, 707-337-1272. Sharing is always caring. Share this whole thing. That's kind of cool. And for those of you who want to learn more about the cash offers for real estate agents, you can send me a text. We'll be bringing it back out to you on Monday. Again, not changing your companies. You still work with your lender. You do everything you're doing. You do what works for you. That's the whole idea of this. We are just going to give you the competitive advantage that iBuyers have over traditional real estate agents right now. And I just want to say this in closing. I've said this before, but if you look at the last 12 months of the iBuying platforms, they have doubled their business. They have literally doubled the type of the volume that iBuying platforms are doing right now. And they're going up exponentially. At the same time, the real estate and mortgage lending industry is contracting. We've dropped by half, meaning they are doing fourfold more successfully. Why is that? Well, one, they have better messaging. They honestly do. They're more disciplined in their messaging. They got bigger budgets and they do it more consistently than an average real estate agent or mortgage lender. And the other thing is they have a product that is very, very attractive to people who are selling houses right now. And that is, in a message, get rid of a burden, sell your house on your time, close when you want to, you're in control, get your cash offer, no one's in your house, no inspections, none of this stuff, make it easy. So that's very, very attractive. Now, what if you as a real estate agent could do the exact same thing, keep your commission completely intact, okay, offer all the convenience that the iBuyers have and the competitive advantage they have over you, and keep everything that you enjoy about your business right now exactly how it is. We are not looking for a cost of money. We are looking for a cost of discipline and a cost of hustle. We want people who are going to kick ass with this. So if you'd like more information on that, you can send me a text to 707-330-1272 or hit the instant message button and we'll be checking those. And I'm thinking Monday we'll start to get back with you guys. With that said, man, make it a great day. It's a wonderful, beautiful day out here in California. I hope everything's great where you are. Happy selling.